Okay, so here we go on today's math lesson. Today we're going to start out working on page 300 in your student activity book. That's the purple book with the elephant on it. So pause the video, get your book open, and I'll give you a second to get that. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about today is we are going to talk about triangles, okay? So the triangles that we're going to talk about, if we look on page 300, so we're going to do 10, 11, and 12 together, and then I'm going to have you work on 13 through 15 independently, and then I'll have you do a little activity after this for today's math lesson, okay? So on this one, it says on number 10, or the directions, describe triangles by types of angles and numbers of sides of equal length. Use triangles M, N, and 0 for 10 through 12. Write M, N, or O, not 0, sorry, M, N, or O, then complete the sentences. Okay? Triangle blank has one angle larger than a right angle and has blank sides of equal length. So we're looking for a triangle that has an angle bigger than a right angle. So let's take a look at M. If I look at this angle right here, we know that's a 90, right? Right angle. This looks like an acute angle, and this one looks like an acute angle as well. Okay, so M does not have an angle bigger than a right angle. So let's look at N. We have this angle here, looks like an acute angle. This angle here looks like an acute angle, and this angle here looks like an acute angle. Okay, so it can't be triangle N. So that must mean it's O. But let's check. Let's see if we can find it. If we look right here, that's an acute angle. And if we look right here, that's an acute angle. But if we look at this angle right here, this one's bigger than a 90 because if it was a 90, it'd be straight out here like this, right? But it's not. It's bigger. So we are going to go with triangle O has one angle larger than a right angle, and how many sides are equal length? Well, if we take a look and we were to measure this side is shorter. This side looks shorter, and this side looks longest. So it doesn't look like there's any sides of equal length. So we're going to put there are 0 equal length. Okay? All right. So we know that we've already done triangle O. Okay? So let's see what we have now. Triangle blank has one right angle. Oh, I think we've already found that, right? So we know that's right angle. So we're going to put triangle M. And has blank sides of equal length. Well, it looks like this one is really long, but it looks like this length. Let me zoom in. And this one are equal. If I were to take my ruler and measure that, those look like they would be the same. So I'm going to have two sides of equal length. Okay? So now we have done triangle M, which leaves us with N, but let's make sure that it fits. Triangle blank has three angles smaller than a right angle. Now, we've already talked about that earlier, right? We showed these that they're all acute angles. So we're going to go ahead and put in triangle N, okay? And has blank sides of equal length, okay? So if I were to come in here and measure this side and this side, they look to be the exact same, don't they? However, what about the next one? If I were to put it up here, I don't think this top line up here that I'm doing in pink, maybe, that I'm doing in pink, I don't think that's quite as long as the other ones. So we are going to say that it has two sides of equal length. Okay, so it's what I'm going to have you do now is I'm going to have you come down here to this bottom part. I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try to do 13 and 14 and 15 on your own. When you get your answers done, unpause the video. Let's check and compare and see how you did, and we'll come back to that, okay? All right. Okay, hopefully you did well. Here we go. Number 13. Triangle blank has 3 angles smaller than a right angle. Okay, so if we look, let's kind of look at our angles here, okay? Get a highlighter out here. Let's get yellow. We've got this angle and this angle look to be smaller, but this angle right here looks to be obtuse. Okay, so it can't be that one. So let's look at Q. This angle here looks acute, and this angle here looks acute. But this angle right here kind of looks like a right angle to me. Right? If I kind of tilted that the other way. So it can't be Q. Let's look at R. We have an angle here, an angle here, and an angle here. Those look all acute to me, so this would be triangle R. And has blank sides of equal length. Well, if I look at this, let's go ahead and highlight this. This line and this line look to be the same, and this line. So this looks like to be an equilateral triangle. All sides are the same length. All angles are the same. So we're going to put a 3 in there. All 3 sides. So we can X out R. We've got R done. Let's take a look at this. I may have been mistaken. Let me draw a straight line. If I have this as a straight line here, and I do a straight line off of that, this is not a 90. I am mistaken. I believe this is also an acute angle. Okay, so I goofed up there. That is not a 90. That is an acute angle as well, but that was really close. I guess we should have looked. It didn't have the little square, right? So that should have been our hint that it wasn't a 90. But we're going to go with triangle Q. Does not have anything. They're all acute. But if we look at our sides, it doesn't look like, let me change colors so we can see a little better. It doesn't look like any of the sides are the same length. If I get my ruler out and measure, it looks like this is the longest side, and it looks like this is the shortest side, and this would be the middle length. And so it doesn't look like we have any sides of the same length on there. Okay, so that's going to take us through Q. Okay, so that means triangle P, we've already talked about it. We have one obtuse angle right there, right? And how many sides of equal length? So let's get this stuff out of the way so we can see. If let's change the color so we can see. If we look at this length is shorter than this length. and this length is the shortest of all. So it kind of looks like none of the sides are the same length, so that they are all going to be 0, okay? All right, hopefully you did well. Now is what I want you to do is I want you to jump over to page 301A, and there's an activity, and tomorrow we're going to talk about quadrilaterals. And before we do that, I want you to introduce yourself to quadrilaterals a little bit. So on the top of 301A, there is a definition of what a quadrilateral is, and there's 6 shapes that you can cut out with scissors, and you can see how many different shapes, how many different quadrilaterals you can make, okay, using these shapes. It should be a lot of fun. Good luck cutting out your shapes and making your quadrilaterals.